Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to our Olivet City Council meeting. Tonight is Tuesday, June 13th. It is 7:03 and we are here at the City Center at Olivet in the council chambers at 1140 Dealman Road in Olivet, Missouri. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Carl,
Here.
Councilmember Knox,
Here.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Here.
Mayor.
Here. Next item.
Next item is communication. You don't have any written communications that aren't going to be on part of the public hearing. And then we do have, I think Darren
Denise,
has an
Can you
introduction.
start over that real quick?
Pardon?
Turn your mic on and start over.
Oh, it was on, sorry. We don't have any written communications that aren't related to the public hearing. And I believe Darren has an introduction to make this evening.
Sure, we're recording. Yes. Good. I was happy to introduce Jennifer Conrad. If everyone looks to your left up here at the dais, she's sitting next to Denise. She joins us from Webster Groves and she is the deputy city clerk. And so she'll be taking the role of Denise's seat as the acting city clerk. And 4 meetings she's going to shadow, and then Denise has announced her retirement on August 4th. So it'll be a sad goodbye, but welcome to Jennifer. She comes from Webster Groves, and why don't you introduce yourself and everyone will get used to your new voice. As the call.
My name's Jennifer Conrad. Like you said, I was at Webster Groves for quite a few years and I'm really excited to be here. Learn all about Olivet. So.
Welcome. Welcome.
Welcome aboard. Next item, please.
Next item is city manager's report.
Welcome once again. My name is Darren Mann, and I'm the finance director for the city, but sitting in as an interim city manager. And for our council report tonight, I'll keep it a little bit short. I did have a new face here for Jennifer, but she's been introduced. Some of our first meetings of the month, we usually go through our dashboard for the community center and parks projects, or Prop C. We can see up here, not much has changed. We're moving towards completion. The target completion dates are roughly towards end of summer. It's constantly kind of moving as things get shuffled around. We've done some change orders over the last couple meetings. We'll have another one tonight. The only we can see in the lower left panel where that highlight is, this potential change order or PCO list is getting smaller as things get narrowed down, figured out. Issues are just kind of ironed out. PCO 104 right here, we're going to be talking about later tonight. And that replacement of that asphalt drive was actually not in the contract originally. Again, we'll talk about it a little bit later. Our MBE, WBE participation is right on target, just a little bit ahead of where the goals for the contractor were, and expected to maintain that through the end of the project. I do have a couple pictures here, unless anyone has any questions, we can bring them up now. The metal paneling, all this is kind of metal paneling. We'll see right here. This is our multi-purpose room. The outside, this right here. Obviously, the site is not complete. This is the front of the building, kind of for reference. There's from the other side. This is the view from the new GRG trail up above, the big oak tree, and that was the bench right down here. You can see the multi-purpose room here, the massing of the gym, stonework that's done, and the nice view there. This is all metal, the metal paneling we saw before. And then this photo is taken from the front of the building. Warson Road would be right behind us now. The fitness facility would be inside of those windows right there. But again, another view of the different contrasting patterns of the metal paneling with the vertical here, followed by the horizontal, and then the wood look metal in between there, and then with some rock. And then I think, oh, that was it. I thought I had one more. So with that, anyway, questions on that project itself or where we're at? No, good.
I had the pleasure of driving by it this morning, and the view from Warson, I don't think is what's on here. And it was just this beautiful, like, side, it's just magnificent.
It looks really good.
I was coming from the
Unfortunately,
west.
the blue stands out a little bit from the vapor sealing on the outside. So that stands out a little bit. That'll go away when we get done through there. You notice how many trees are there too. So it's really kind of hidden back in there, which is the kind of design intent itself. We'll mention right in here, this is part of the driveway. It was the old driveway before, and this is what we'll be, hopefully we'll be discussing and approving later, the asphalt and reconstruction of that drive lane. From there, again, the first meeting of the month, we talk about progress at the Gateway I-170 TIF or the Olive Crossing. A little bit of remind everyone that the green here is our updates from the last time we talked about this a month ago. Work progressing. If anyone has been at that intersection, you know that they're working. So that's no surprise there that roadway work is supposed to be substantially complete this month. From there, the big announcement probably for the month is that Paris Baguette will be joining there in lot 3, at least signed for that west end, working for other restaurants in the remainder of the space. This is the first Paris Baguette in Missouri and awaiting permit approval from the city. So we do have those plans and approvals, but it's in the process for that. As we look back to further into the lot, into the development in lot 4, anticipated substantial completion at the end of July of 23. So in about 45 days, the apartment complex there would be done and leases beginning, people moving in. On the lot 1 and 2, which is the corner of Olive and North Price, negotiations continue on term sheet. Not much of an update there, and then no updates on lot 4 or 5, which are planned currently for office and office complex and a hotel. So any questions there? Good. Upcoming events, Juneteenth, the city offices will be closed in observance of Juneteenth on Monday, the 19th. Olivet Night Out is the following night on the 20th. And then fast forward a week and a couple days, Stacy Starry Nights are on at Stacy Park on June 29th. And then this going forward to the next through this month, the next 30 days, I guess, July 4th, city offices closed in honor of Independence Day. And then the following week after that, Coffee with the Mayor on July 12th, which Carlos Trejo will be the guest. And that's at 8:45 here at the City Center. And then a week following, Coffee with a Cop at McDonald's on July 20th. And then CDBG public hearing on Tuesday, the 25th, which is a council meeting night, so at 7 p.m. here. This is from the city website, and that's where kind of get source this a lot of this information from the events calendar. News around town. I didn't have a whole lot here, but this kind of came in. We've learned more and more that Dealman Road right outside of our windows here is roadway work continues. Obviously, if you've been on there, it can be a little hectic, but expected to begin paving the start to the end of this week into next week. So we don't know the sequencing yet. Throughout the entire project, they started at Page and came this way. So I would suspect that would be the paving sequence too, but we'll have there's a paving meeting in the next couple of days that we would know more. So pay attention to that. Plan on having that on city website to let people know to avoid the area during certain times.
They're out there tonight even.
They're out there
When we were
flagging tonight.
talking.
That's right. They poured the concrete late. I think it was 4 or 5. I'm not sure if it'll be there all night, but at least he's next to a Walgreens and get some good delivery. Go get a break. Save the date for Turkey Trot. It's on Thanksgiving morning, 11/23. Big news here is registration opens August 1st. So go to olivetmo.com for more info. This is the 10th anniversary of the Turkey Trot, and it'll be some special kind of things for purchase as usual. But this will be the 10th year. So that's good news there. And then upcoming meetings, Planning Commission meeting on June 15th in a couple days, Parks and Rec Commission meeting next Wednesday, the 21st, and then a regular meeting for the City Council on the 27th. And then a work session is canceled for July 4th. But then 2 days later is a Planning and Community Development, Design Commission is also canceled. And then the regular City Council meetings are on July 11th and the 25th in July, with Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee meeting on the 13th as we approach looking at our first draft shortly after that. That is would conclude my city manager's report, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions on this? No. Any? Okay. Next item, please.
Next item is city council reports.
We'll start at to my left. Councilmember Carl,
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Councilmember Clark,
I have nothing to report at this time.
Councilmember Knox,
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Walden.
I actually have nothing to report at this time. Mr. Trejo does a good job of giving the city and us a summary of the previous planning community design commissioning, commission meeting, but I do have one coming this Thursday. I will gladly report on next time around. I will note that the Municipal League is beginning its summer sessions with the executive board, and that I will be attending a planning meeting June 26th. That starts at 8:30, goes to 1:30.
Wow.
Okay, thank you.
And I also did not attend any additional meetings this month or since our last meeting. Next item, please.
Next item is hearing from citizens.
So if you've given me a card, I will hold on to it if it has to do with the public hearing about the special use permit. If your card is not about the special use permit and you wanted to speak, I'd be happy to take your comments at this time. Okay, anyone on Zoom that's interested? Okay. Okay, next item, moving right along.
Item number 6 is resolution number 2023-238. A resolution appointing Jennifer Yackley as the city manager for the city of Olivet, authorizing and directing the execution of a contract regarding same, and authorizing city staff to resolve an issue concerning the payment deferred compensation as required by the contract.
Good, council, in front of us, we have the resolution appointing a new city manager. And including this resolution is the employment contract itself, but probably most importantly, Jennifer is joining us and she gets the pleasure of at least sitting once in those horrible chairs. So I'll hand it over to the mayor. Say what you'd like.
Following a very thorough series of interviews and there's been many terms out there, rigorous, thorough, but we are so delighted that Jennifer Yackley is going to be, that we're going to be welcoming her to our community as the city manager for Olivet. She comes to us with a wealth of knowledge from Rock Hill, and we are just thrilled for her to be joining us here at Olivet. During the process, she had interviews with the city council. She met with the directors of all of the departments and did a windshield tour of the city as well. So she's seen every inch of Olivet or most of it. So and sitting next to her tonight, I also want to acknowledge that Julie Stone is here with her from Stone Consultants. And Julie has been a friend of Olivet's for a very long time and worked with us in our last city manager search and worked with us once again in working to hire Jennifer. So with no further ado, I would love to entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we approve the motion as presented. Second.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Waldman,
Absolutely.
Mayor,
100%.
motion passed.
So not to put you on the spot, but a little bit. Would you like to join us at the podium to say a few words?
Oh my gosh, I think this is the biggest podium I've ever been able to stand at. So I thank you to the council for placing your trust in me to lead the city forward and to work with staff. I've met with a number of the staff members already, and they are experts in their field. They've been exceptionally welcoming. And I'm very excited to be with you all. August 7th will be my first day. So I do have to wrap some things up in Rock Hill. It feels like the southern part of St. Louis County is coming north into Olivet with our addition of the new deputy city clerk from Webster Groves, and I'm from Rock Hill. So I'm very excited about being here and all the good things that are happening in Olivet. So thank you very much.
And coincidentally, but he doesn't, he was not on the search committee, is that Paul Martin is the lawyer in both Rock Hill and Olivet. And so Well, that part will be an easy transition.
That will be an easy transition, and it is true. He had nothing to do with search
No.
whatsoever.
Well, welcome aboard. We're thrilled to
Alright.
have you.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Bill number 3002, an ordinance authorizing a special permit to Agrigenesis LLC to operate a marijuana dispensary facility to be known as Sunrise Dispensary on the property grounds addressed as 9270 Olive Boulevard, Zone COR, Commercial Office Retail District. Second reading and public hearing.
Good evening, Mr. Trejo.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Do we want to open the public hearing?
And we'd like to open a public hearing and welcome Mr. Trejo to the podium.
No problem, sir. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Carlos Trejo. I am the Director of Planning and Community Development for the City of Olivet. And I'm here tonight before you to present and discuss a public hearing regarding Bill 3002, which authorizes the issuance of a special permit for a marijuana dispensary facility to be known as Sunrise Dispensary, located at the property at 9270 Olive Boulevard. This was read for the first time at your meeting on May 23rd. And Darren, on the next PDF. Regarding location and facts, the property is located at 9270 Olive Boulevard. That's the southeast corner of Olive Boulevard and Dolores Avenue. It's an existing commercial building, roughly 4,900 square feet on 17,860 square feet parcel. It's improved. That building was built in 1960. The underlying zoning is COR, which is our commercial office retail district. And dispensaries are permitted as a special permit. I apologize for the misspelling there. Under our chapter 450 marijuana regulations that were recently adopted by the council back in February 2023. On the next slide, you'll see the petition that was submitted before the Planning and Community Design Commission, and I'll go over the process for you shortly. But in terms of the petition, it was a proposal for operations of a dispensary from 10 to 8. Of course, the council adopted chapter 450, our medical facilities regulations that limited the hours of operation for dispensaries from 11 a.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. So that's required by code. They're proposed to have 7 to 8 employees working at any time. They negotiated the lease of offsite parking for spots for employees. The footprint of the building and site will not change, but there would be significantly improved upon to enhance the aesthetics of the area, and lighting would not intrude on the neighboring residents. And that's all part of their petition application that was submitted along with the site plan revisions that were last before the commission. So I'm going to talk a little bit about chapter 450 in our next slide and kind of give the council an overview of the process of the commission and its report regarding the special permit, as the commission is making a recommendation to the council, with ultimately the council having the final say and approval through ordinance. So chapter 450 was adopted back in February 2023 by this council. It's intended to implement Article Roman numeral 14 of the Missouri Constitution. The purpose is to protect the right of access and simultaneously provide for and protect health, safety, welfare, and property values in the city of Olivet. It establishes location requirements consistent with Amendment 3, which was part of that was voted upon. It determines the method of measurement, and it establishes regulations that would be governing these type of uses, which include general regulations, talking about the design, placement, and things. It goes on and furthers some security regulations, including provisions above and beyond those that were adopted by the state. It has regulations to control odor, regulations on the hours of operation, which I noted earlier, and then the enforcement procedures in case there's conflict with the code and that. Long story short, though, chapter 450 permits dispensaries, which is before you tonight, as special permits in any non-residential zoning district. And that was a decision by the council. So regarding the special permit and the procedures that went before the commission based under chapter 450, on the next slide, you'll see a kind of overview of what the process of the review or the procedure was that the commission followed. Once again, we have chapter 450, which provides the location and general requirements for dispensaries. to be located in Olivet and non-residential districts, including the COR as special permits. And the process of the special permit is to look at the potential impact that a use may have, to ensure that it furthers the comprehensive plan, to look at the character of the design and the development, ensure the exterior is consistent with their codes. You can place limitations on the number of hours, ensure it's part of the district, its suitability, correct buffering, and open spaces. Now, all these requirements are generally referred to and addressed through our comprehensive plan and all the subsequent documents that were adopted during the comprehensive plan process, which includes the 2018 or 2016 catalyst strategy for the redevelopment of the Olive Boulevard corridor, along with the Olive Boulevard master development plan that was adopted, I believe, in 2019. And then in 2021, we had the Northeast Quadrant study that was prepared by CBB engineers. Then we have our COR district that was adopted by the council. Again, the purpose of the COR district is to further the goals and objectives of our comprehensive plan. And then chapter 428, which is an overlay somewhat zoning district that we apply along the Olive Boulevard corridor that helps us further, again, the vision of the Olivet comprehensive plan. On the next slide, we'll talk about procedures. So a special permit is where the plan commission reviews a petition and makes a recommendation to the council. It is not the commission's role to approve or authorize the use, but to forward a recommendation after conducting a review and a report and in a process and give a recommendation to the council. The council has the final say, but the council is kind of reviewing, did the commission follow the correct procedures and processes of the special permit review? And what is that process? Is to determine the suitability of a use under prescribed conditions. The commission, again, is forwarding a recommendation to the council, and the council has the full discretion to deny the request if it chooses to. On the next slide, the process for a special permit is that there is a site plan review that is conducted by the plan commission. And again, the purpose of the site plan review is to ensure that we adequately review and consider potential impacts surrounding uses and activities and demonstrate reasonable steps have been taken to minimize negative effects upon the surrounding built and natural environment and within the site itself. And that's an important process of our zoning regulation. And that is the role of the commission. Make sure that we're looking at our codes, we're looking at the comprehensive plan, and we're also considering the surrounding uses, public input, take in those accounts and ensure that reasonable steps have been taken to minimize or mitigate issues that have been brought up through the process. The use has to be listed, such as it is on chapter 450. The purpose of the site plan review is to be consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. The use has to be suitable for its lot. The use has to be complementary to the location, not alter the character, circulation, or connectivity of the site. The commission has the authority to mitigate any spillover effects that are brought in its analysis and review, which could include buffering, density, access, lighting, signage, noise. It could impose buffers, which we do through our chapter 428. It could impose aesthetic conditions, which we do through our chapter 428. It can require open space and designate open space for public use, as we can through chapter 428. It can establish and set time limitations, and it can review and address if there are adequate public facilities and services to accommodate for this use. The next slide, we'll go through under the COR district, which is the underlying zoning district of the subject use. And the purpose of the COR district is, again, to further the goals and objectives of the city's comprehensive plan and to ensure connectivity between all of its neighborhoods, Olive Boulevard, and adjacent and adjoining lots. Chapter 428, which is an overlay zoning that we apply along the Olive Corridor, which this falls into, again, is to further the goals and objectives of the city's comprehensive plan, to redevelop the corridor consistent with the comprehensive plan vision, enhance the visual appearance of the corridor, develop safe and attractive pedestrian passageways, encourage coordinated planning between developments, and protect and preserve value of property. On the next slide, this petition was introduced to the commission on January 19, 2023. At the same time, the council was considering the adoption of chapter 450 in there. So the commission did not have any authority to take any action in there, but it provided an opportunity to introduce the petitioner, go over the process, and also to allow public comments. In doing so, we have a requirement for public comments to be for notifications to go 300 feet from the subject property. We expanded that to include the entire Dolores Kenneth streets, areas north of Olive, and also some areas along Price Road and Villa to be aware of the notification. We also posted this in a weekly alert that the city issues for upcoming news and had information in our in our newsletter, ensure that the public was informed. At that meeting, the commission kind of talked about Amendment 3, which kind of precipitated the adoption of Chapter 450. The distance requirements with the Core Academy, as that was kind of up in place, and that was a educational service building that is located off of Olive, not far from this property. In there, it talked about the comprehensive plan, the catalyst strategy for the economic development of the Olive Boulevard corridor, the Olive Boulevard conceptual master plan. We talked about the COR district. We talked about the special permit uses. We talked about parking and circulation, streetscape, and again, about investing in the vision, that comprehensive plan. These were all items that were discussed at the January 19, 2023 commission meeting. Subsequently, at the next commission meeting on February 2nd, we talked to the commission regarding the process. Again, Chapter 450 was under final review, and the public hearing for the council was set the week after. So the commission couldn't take action on this as of yet. But we reviewed the petition submitted. We talked about the COR district, the role of the commission, and the role of the council, how this process works. In there, we also coalesced all the public comments that we heard from the January meeting, and noted them and tried to break them down into categories in there. And we tried to talk to the commission regarding what are principles and what are values, and to consider those comments that were heard in terms of those two extents, and understand our codes and how they affect and are impacted by public comment. Overall, the comments that we heard from the public could be categorized under crime, safety, traffic, image, and identity. And then there was these other general comments regarding value, public health, mental exposure, revenue, notifications, voter validity, Amendment 3, and all that, things that were above and beyond the role of the commission to try to address in this process. But we were considerate about the public comments we heard regarding crime, safety, traffic, image, and identity. And then the chairman allowed additional opportunity for public comments, which again fell within the categories that we had established here under this chart. At the next meeting, the commission, again, you go ahead, one forward. We want to focus that the process of the commission was to review this in a procedure that's established by code. Chapter 450 authorizes dispensaries through the process of the special permit. The special permit has a specific process for the commission to evaluate, and those evaluations are done in the basis of our comprehensive plan and our code chapters in our zoning regulations. And the next slide, the commission then discussed the site plan review, whether the use was listed, the comprehensive plan, the suitability, the complementary, the mitigation, the buffers, the aesthetics, the open space, the time, and the public adequacy, based on how they were impacted by the public comments that were heard both in January and February, and then allowed additional opportunity for public comments at that meeting. Again, the role of the commission is to try to mitigate the impacts that this type of use would have on its surroundings and within the site itself, and therefore led to the next meeting that the commission had, which would be on the next slide, on April 20th. At that time, the commission acknowledged that the property grounds met the conditions of the COR district, that the building provided parking consistent with code, that the state and Chapter 450 had proper provisions for security. Again, the city, the Amendment 3 and the Missouri Constitution provides regulations for the process of operations of dispensary that control how the money is handled, how things are stored, how security is set in there. And then all of that goes above and beyond that and requires a review by the chief of police and therefore a final security plan in that process. And we had that meeting with the police chief and the petitioner to make sure that we acknowledge those resident comments regarding safety and crime, and that these were adequately addressed and reviewed by the commission. In addition to that, the commission had directed staff to hire a traffic consultant to do an analysis regarding on the parking, on the circulation, and the impacts that that use would have on the site. The purpose for that analysis is, again, was because we heard from the community. There was concern about traffic. There was concern about safety. There was concern about image and access onto Olive Boulevard. And that analysis assisted the commission to review and assess what those issues are. In that analysis, the traffic analysis, it was found that the site at the peak hour of usage, based on the petitioner's information, would be short one parking stall in there for customer use in there. However, again, I stress the parking required for the building of this size and this type of use, which is general retail, was compliant with code. Therefore, the commission, furthered the petitioner to ensure that they secured offsite parking to mitigate that concern and address that issue. There was also concerns about circulation, which led to restrictions on the use of the access point on Dolores, and compromising on the use on the access point of Olive Boulevard in there. Again, listening to the public comments, trying to mitigate those issues and address those issues, and not just run over them or ignore them. At the next meeting on May 5th or May 4th, the commission was ready to forward a recommendation, and they did so, approving a conceptual approval of the site plan and improvement plans, asking that the petitioner come back with final plans that address our architecture and site planning aesthetics for the site, that they secure and record a document providing the 3 additional parking stalls within 300 feet in there, and then recommendations of things that they would like to see in that site plan drawing, including the one-way internal site circulation, this place counterclockwise as proposed by the Lockmuller Group, that the Dolores entrance be limited to enter only. That was a compromise to address the mitigation in there. This way, people exiting Dolores wouldn't be impacted by patrons of the facility because they can only enter through Dolores. That the Olive Boulevard entrance be limited to exit only. And again, this was to address concerns of residents along Dolores and Kenneth about backing up of traffic on Dolores Avenue in there. This site also has a cross easement site access with the neighboring shopping facility, commercial facility next door that provides access all the way up to Price Road. Commission requested approved corner intersection design, including a defined perimeter, hardscape, and focus point. Again, that's in chapter 428 and part of our comprehensive plan. That decorative bollards be provided near all building entry points and mechanical equipment and other locations. Again, chapter 450 safety, chapter 428 as part of mitigation. That a decorative screen wall along Dolores consisting of an ornamental fence nestled between brick columns be provided, again, on Dolores as part of chapter 428, addressing to compromise safety and mitigation. Now, I want to stress, this is the way the term in the code uses that decorative screen wall, and that is a 3-foot landscape wall that we see along the Olive Boulevard corridor. A majority of those that we've seen have been all masonry, but the code allows flexibility to use other unique designs. And in this case, because of concerns we heard of residents that people would be sitting on these landscape walls along Dolores, that instead of doing one long concrete landscape wall, that this would further the ornamental fencing that you see on Olive Boulevard and be more decorative along Dolores, but kind of limit the use to be a sitting ground along Dolores, because there was concerns that were expressed that that's what it would be used for. That's not what the intent of that code section was in there. And then that we provide some brick or other masonry veneer subject to the commission's approval, covering at least 40% of the building's exterior. Again, the comprehensive plan, chapter 428, and an effort to mitigate some of the issues regarding the design. And then that final wall signage be subject to the commission approval. Again, part of the comprehensive plan, chapter 428, and trying to mitigate some of the concerns that we heard, and also from the commission's view and perspective. In no way is the commission denying the use through the recommendation. They're recommending that the council authorize the use through a special permit, but subject to these conditions, meaning the petitioner will have to go back for an aesthetic or architectural design review. And there before an occupancy permit would be issued. So on the next slide, again, the council's kind of reviewing, did the commission follow its thorough process? Chapter 450, which outlines that this use is permitted along the Olive Boulevard corridor in non-residential district that is subject to the special permit use criteria, which includes site plan review and all those other components that we kind of discussed in the process, from its impact, the underlying zoning district, buffering, open space limitations, and all that. And all these you can see reflected in the commission's condition, and that it most importantly furthers the objectives, goals, and visions of the comprehensive plan and all the subsequent reports that have been adopted to that plan, which again, our COR district in chapter 428 are specifically designed to further those conditions in there. That concludes the presentation for my report, but Mayor, if I can enter some items into the record, as this is part of the process, again, to ensure that the
Please do
commission and the council and this hearing properly abided through its requirements. The first item would be amendment 2 as adopted on November 8th, 2018, which authorized the medical marijuana use. And then ordinance 2760 adopted November 3rd, 2022 by this council, which created chapter 450 medical marijuana facilities. Then amendment 3 as adopted or voter approved on November 6th, 2022, which authorized adult use recreational marijuana, followed by ordinance 2767 adopted by this council in February 28th, 2023, which amended chapter 450, our medical marijuana facilities, to be regarding to marijuana facilities and include adult use recreational use. Our 2006 comprehensive plan, our on 2012 ordinance 2471, which adopted chapter 428, our community design Olive Boulevard corridor guidelines. In 2014, ordinance 2521, amending chapter 400, our COR district and special permit uses to further the goals and visions of the Olivet comprehensive plan. The 2016 catalyst strategy for the economic development of Olivet, the 2019 Olive Boulevard conceptual master plan, the 2021 Northeast Quadrant transportation sketch planning study, and then the 9270 Olive Boulevard recreational marijuana dispensary traffic assessment prepared by the Lockmuller Group, dated April 13, 2023. In addition to those, the staff's PCDC presentations dated, that should be January 19th, February 2nd, April 20th, and May 4th of 2023. The staff memorandum, part of your packets, dated May 4th, 2023 to the Planning and Community Design Commission, including the petition application and the supporting plans and documents. The public hearing notice affidavit of publication that was on May 29, 2023 in the St. Louis County record, and the addresses that are notified, which were part of your pocket. The Olivet Municipal Code and zoning map, and this presentation before the City Council on June 13, 2023, including attachments.
At this, are there any questions for Mr. Trejo at this time? Then I'll move into I'm going to open it up to comments from the city, and the first card I have is from Douglas Travis. As he comes forward, I want to remind everyone it's 3 minutes. Denise and or Jennifer will be setting a timer at the end of the 3 minutes. You'll hear a buzzer, and that'll be your completion.
Mayor, we
yeah.
did have 2 written communications that we'll enter into the record too. If you I thought we were going to do that before.
You want to do
people
it
spoke.
first?
And that's okay. I just
Yeah.
wanted to, record those
We'll
before we
type
get
one.
started and forget.
Let's identify him.
You can stay there. Hold on.
Okay, we received written communications from Ishan Desai, 9318 Kenneth regarding this matter. And we received written communication from Georgia Wilkie at 9318 Kenneth regarding this matter.
Great, thank you.
Good. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No problem. If I have 2 cards in front of me, but if other people want to speak, following the first 2, all you'll need to do is come forward with your cards. Mr. Travis?
My name is Douglas Travis. I've lived in Olivet for over 50 years. I'm not opposed to cannabis at all, but I am opposed to traffic, safety, and property values decreasing. Can the council tell me one enhancement this project brings to the citizens of Olivet? I read all 64 pages of the bill, a little bit, that was attached to the public issue. The safety study states that this is a bad location and that the flow will not work at all with their angled parking to squeeze in a few extra parking places. I see no mention of the 40% masonry that the city requires and no mention of the fact they intend to add a drive-through. More traffic. There are several new homes in the neighborhood now, and in talking to those new neighbors, if they would have known about this dispensary, they said they probably would not have moved into Olivet. In closing, I don't want to be overrun by a neighbor that does not belong in our little patch of Olivet. Would this council approve this dispensary if it was on the entrance to Oak Estates?
Thank you. David Razowski.
Hi, my name's David Rozovsky. I live at 9311 Kenneth Place. I'm going to read a letter on behalf of Ishan and my family. Dear City Council, thank you for hearing public comments about 9270. I'm grateful to City Council and PCDC for accepting and acting on previous comments from all of us on Dolores, Kenneth, and Tess. To reiterate from the last meeting, many of us neighbors had 4 requests. We've added a 5th for no drive-through. The 5 requests are: 1, no signage on the west side of the building and an active approach to stop customers from parking on Dolores. 2, reduced hours to 5 p.m. on weekends, specifically for 9270 Olive because of its close proximity to residences. We don't want to be a weekend destination. 3, a final and complete rendering of the building before approval. 4, an adherence to all the PCDC and traffic study guidelines and recommendations. 2 examples including PCDC asked for a 40% masonry exterior, and the traffic study recommended the entrance from Olive into this lot be closed for safety reasons. 5, a commitment for no drive-through for now and in the future. A lot of us are deeply concerned about the prospect of a drive-through in a future special permit. I want to also say, after talking to numerous neighbors, our biggest concern is that this neighborhood will have trouble accommodating retail traffic. While we wish the petitioner well, we believe the site is inadequate to meet both their current needs and their future ambitions of a drive-through. Thank you.
Thank you. In the back. Yeah, thank you. Mr. If you'll identify yourself with your address. Thank you.
Jeff Schneider, I live at 9324 Kenneth Place. So I'm gonna kind of echo some of what has already been said. Again, during the special permit process, traffic study was done. As it was already mentioned, it was, recommended for safety to close the Olive entrance onto the property. And if that happens, that means all of the traffic in and out go down Dolores, basically. So to adhere to that makes the situation on Dolores even worse than it would be before. There was also basically throughout the process, the petitioner and the study seemed to take a view of, it's the volume of customers and that is gonna, top off. It's not gonna get, any worse or anything like that. And, the reality is businesses, they strive to increase their sales. They strive to increase the volume on there. If they're not a very good business on there. The site as is if it's not at the max capacity, which I believe it's actually over, I can't believe that a business would say they're just going to stay right there. They're going to try to grow their business more, and there is no more room at that site. So, not enough parking. People will park down the street. There's no way to prevent people. It's a public street. People will park on it, even if at one point they were saying putting up signs, neighborhood parking, everything. It's unenforceable type of thing. So again, the concern is not about marijuana. It's that this site simply is not geared to take a retail business, a high volume retail business like this, and just it's putting a square peg in a round hole sort of thing. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Please come forward. Thank you.
I'm Christina Hunley, 9311 Kenneth Place. I myself am a medical user and I haven't taken today, so I apologize. My anxiety is through the roof. In addition to everything that we've heard numerous times, traffic is the key. We brought our daughter, she's at the bus stop, literally across the street. But in addition to just regular traffic is going to be the foot traffic, because with all the development going on the corner, you're going to have more people wanting to walk to the restaurants and stuff that are going to be built. So not only are we adding more car traffic, vehicle traffic in and out, there's going to be more foot traffic coming around that we also have to worry about, in addition to our own neighborhood, in addition to the bus stop, in addition to, if the dispensary is there, to not only their customers, to their employees, because our understanding is that they are looking to leasing the parking lot a couple spots across the street. So that's something else to kind of keep in mind too, that it's not just vehicle traffic, it's going to be foot traffic, because our family, when it's nice out, we like to walk down that area. One thing too, I believe Carlos said that the building has been there since 1960s. Well, just in 10 years, look how much has changed already in 10 years. Why this might have been a commercial office retail investment ever since it's been built, from my knowledge, that has never been a true retail. It's been commercial space. It's been office space. At least it's been office space since I've been living in this neighborhood. So no true retail has actually been in this space. And in my youth, I worked in multiple retail spaces. And as Mr. Schlatter said, business expands. There's always that bottom line. Got to keep growing the business. How do we bring in more customers? That is not going to change with any business. Doesn't matter what business you're in. I'm in healthcare. How do we bring in more customers? All the time. That's not any different. One thing I would like to consider for Olivet, the city of Olivet to consider, is that you guys had posted on May 17th on Facebook. How do you feel about current conditions along Olive? A lot of the comments were, we have enough apartments, because we have a bunch of apartments coming up. We have a bunch of storage spaces. Quite a few comments on there were about green space. So if this does not go through, I would like the city of Olivet to maybe consider purchasing that and maybe turning it into a corner like at Firestone, adding bike racks for people who bike, because we do know we have the Centennial Greenway. We want to encourage that. That's what people are wanting. So maybe that's a different direction that if this doesn't pass, that Olivet looks into, actually provide what the citizens want. A lot of people want more walking spaces, biking spaces. And if you have bike racks for people to lock up their bikes to actually go to those restaurants that aren't currently there, like that would help to expand the businesses that are currently here now too. So that was just a different direction that I think Olivet can look into if we decide not to go down this path, that maybe we do something different and maybe change it and improve that little section there. It doesn't have to be full-blown park with playgrounds and stuff, but benches, a waterfall, like I said, a place for the bikers, something for the walkers, just something different besides more retail, and apartments. And, I moved here in 2009. And I love all of it. This is where we came. This is where we chose to be our home. And I hope it stays that way. And I want to see Olivet become what we call ourselves. We want to be the center of it all. Let's show them why we're the center of it all. Let's make this a place that people actually want to come to and actually want to come to our restaurants, who actually want to walk the Centennial Greenway, go to Warson Park, go to Stacy Park, make it more inviting, not just a retail shopping area. Consider about what all of our other residents, not just in our neighborhood, would want to see in this city.
Thank you. Are there any more comments in the room? Come on up. And we do see the hand that's been risen on the Zoom, and we'll come to the Zoom folks next. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bill Walkie. I live at 9017 Test, and I've been there since 1985. I don't recall having any issue with traffic with the building there being of office, but I'm deeply concerned about it, the retail aspect, regardless of what kind of retail it is. Dolores is a dead-end street. There's really no place for anybody who turns there even by mistake to turn around. And I would like to see a contingency plan if there's any problems with traffic because of this new location.
There's one more in the room. Please come on up. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cindis Schneider. I'm at 324 Kenneth Place. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for the time you invest in hearing from residents regarding the 902070 Olive Building. The bottom line is that the site is zoned for commercial office retail, but it's not designed for high volume commercial office retail. You are trying to force it to work when it's not going to be a good fit. And having a high volume traffic is just an accident waiting to happen. It's not if a kid or a person will get hit, it's when. My assumption is that the demographic of the biggest customer is young men. They are the highest to insure because they are the most reckless drivers. I ask all of you who are part of granting permission to the petitioner, because I cannot choose which one of us and our kids will be the sacrificial accident to prove this spot is wrong. I told you so. My mom was a nurse, and she would say the only thing worse than causing a fatal accident is paralyzing someone for the rest of their life. It is a slow death. For the past 60 years, our neighborhood has had families and kids. And with the addition of 6 new 3 to 4 bedroom family homes, it will continue to be a neighborhood that has kids for the next 20 plus years. Our neighborhood will have kids until it is no longer safe to live there. Please, for the safety of everyone, say no to any high volume business. It is not better to just get something in there than the safety of the kids and people. Please explain to me how a high volume, wrong fit business is worth more than the life of my child. One final point, just because a guy has asked nicely and waited patiently does not entitle him to a yes. That this process has taken so long only makes it more glaringly obvious how wrong a fit this is. If it was a good fit, none of us would still be here. For the safety of everyone, please say no to this high volume, high traffic business in that location. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to move into the Zoom room and then we'll come back. Because they also waited patiently. Darren, if you can
Sure, I'll promote them over.
bring them over.
There we go. All right, you've been promoted to panelist, and everyone here at City Hall can hear you and on Zoom too.
But you have to be, you need to be seen when you're speaking. So you'll need to turn on your video and on your microphone. Thank you.
Okay, hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
You bet.
Yeah, good. I'm Sinju New, live at 8933 Iroquois. So I'm a PhD. I'm still working in lab. You know, I lived in the Olivet that Iroquois for 4 years. My company is close to the Danforth Center. Every day I drive through the Olive Street. And almost every week, I will ask one colleague to eat at Chinatown for lunch. In the beginning, I was very proud of how good Olive is, but several times, almost every time for lunch, my colleague and me, we will stop close to the dentist, that area. You know, that's, I think because of Hilltop and end price of that traffic light, make that at the lunch time as a big traffic jam. I'm thinking if the retail there design not so good in the future, will increase bigger burden. That's my first data through my experience for last 4 years. That's for lunch is a big time. And then for evening, the 5:30 sometimes, that also I need to stay there for several seconds or 1 minute. But in the morning, it's not a big deal. Okay, that's what I want to share with us for first-hand data. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look at that. Not as rusty at Zoom as I thought.
Kate, you also had a card? And then I know someone over here had one as well. Thank you.
Kate Hellman, 800 North Price. I don't live in the Dolores Kenneth Test neighborhood, but I am here in support of my neighbors because I think it's important that when there's an issue that affects one part of our community, it often doesn't just impact one part of our community, actually. It has broader ramifications. And so I'm here in support of my neighbors and in support of the effort to make this location, this business, somehow more suitable, whether that's at a different location or whether that's through changes to the special permit that enable it to be a more suitable neighbor, a more beneficial neighbor and responsible neighbor. So the neighbors have made their concerns pretty clear. And these concerns exist for many of the areas along the Olive Road corridor. And chapter 428 that Carlos referenced earlier goes through the difficulties that exist around businesses and residential areas being right alongside each other on Olive. Article 2 of chapter 428 focuses on site planning and states that one intent of the article is to ensure, quote, minimal impact on surrounding and abutting residential properties. In the same article 2, two of the stated purposes are to, quote, minimize the spillover effects of noise, vehicles, and lighting to surrounding residential neighborhoods and establish acceptable standards for transitions between non-residential properties, abutting residential properties. So the items requested by the Dolores Road neighbors make it clear what they believe are the best strategies for mitigating and minimizing the impact and spillover effects from this business. And so I'd just like to reiterate some of the requests that have been made. No signage on the west side of the building, an active approach to stopping customers from parking on Dolores, reduced hours to 5 p.m. on weekends, adherence to all PCDC and traffic study guidelines and recommendations, submission of a final, complete, and updated rendering of the building showing the necessary changes before approval, and a clear restriction put in place now so that no drive-through would be permitted in the future. None of these requests pose an undue burden to the business. Rather, they are the basic requirements necessary for this business to meet the standards outlined in Chapter 428, ensuring that they can be a good and responsible neighbor for the residents on Dolores, Kenneth, and Tess. Thank you.
Thank you. We had one over here, I believe. Thank you.
Hi, My name is Nestor D'Souza. I just moved into 1004 Dolores Avenue, March 28th. And when we moved, the one thing we liked about the place, that it was a dead end and there was nothing, it was easy to get in and get out of the place. The neighborhood looked very nice. There was some combination of old and new houses. Everything was perfect. When we bought the home, the builder didn't tell us anything about this, even though probably he knew. He didn't tell us. After we moved in, a good neighbor walked by and said, so-and-so is happening. Were you aware? And we were like, no. If we knew, we would not have bought this place. And so now we are stuck. Hearing all the comments of all the neighbors, it's shocking that, we even discussing about this, because where we came from Switzerland, and this is totally new for us. And if even a few neighbors said no, nothing like this would even exist. I mean, there was no discussion, So I hope good judgment is used here, and our investment is protected for the future. That's all I would like to say. Thank you.
Are there any more comments? Come on. Wait, can I have your card first?
Oh, sorry. See.
Nope, you're good. Thank you.
Hillary Davidson, 1029 Dolores Avenue. So my comments are a little more impromptu, but what I would like to say is that I'm here to support the things that my neighbors have said with their concerns about this site and about the traffic issue, the parking issue, and the other concerns. There was something else that I would like to mention, though, is there's been a lot of research about light and how light affects insect life and natural, animals. And one of the wonderful things we have in Olivet is lots of trees, lots of insects, lots of birds. And I would really like to consider making sure that the lighting on this facility, if this facility happens, is not, for one thing, is not causing light pollution that will affect the entire street, because it will be shining in my window at night. And, that may be good for the facility in terms of security, but it really affects my experience. But also, we could consider making allowances so that this type of light is not damaging to other natural beings that we are very fortunate still abound in our area. And I guess the other thing I'd like to say is there has been a lot of development on Olive. And I think that even if this business doesn't go in, there will be other opportunities for this site. That's all I would like to say. Thank you again for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there any more comments? Do I ask Mr. Meyer if he wants to make any comment? Okay. Up. Thank you.
I'm Park. Excuse me. I live at 9326 Kenneth Place. I came here earlier and addressed with you that Rekha Ramanuja, who's over there, and I are child psychiatrists, and we are trying to bail out the Titanic with regard to marijuana. I want you to think carefully about the safety, which has been addressed. Good counsel can lead to wise decisions. And I'm the one that asked you earlier, is this a wise decision? Is this a wise decision now? And is this going to be a wise decision in 5 years and in 10 years? So those are things to consider. Olivet, with the stripped down Olive, could become something like downtown Kirkwood, depending upon what you choose to do. So please make a wise decision.
At this time, I'm going to close the public hearing and return to where the council will engage in conversation with Mr. Carlos if there's no further questions. Thank you. The public hearing is closed, and I will start to my far right. If do you have any questions for Mr. Carlos at this, Mr. Trejo at this time?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you? Did you either of you?
No.
Okay, I do. Do you?
I have no question.
Okay, so Mr. Trejo.
Yes, ma'am.
I do have some questions based on comments that have been made and from your presentation. And the first one is, it's early on in your presentation, you made a comment about Price Crossing. Were you implying that they're going to be able to use that parking lot at Price Crossing? I wasn't sure what that meant.
They'd be able to use the access through Price to cut across through Price Crossing to access Price Road and the signalized intersection at all.
Okay. So they,
In terms of parking, no, there's no agreement that I'm aware of between the two property owners regarding use of parking stalls on the site.
okay. You also, and then, which leads to another question, when people talk about the closing of the entrance on Olive Street Road, because at one point we've heard of people say that it's going to be closed, and another part we've heard tonight and people have commented about people exiting. So they would come off of Dolores, in via Dolores and out through Olive, and so that part of Olive Street Road would not be closed?
That is correct. The apron on Olive would remain open in an effort to mitigate or mediate some of the concerns that were expressed about backup traffic from that subdivision and such. The site will have a secondary access point through Olive Crossing, of course, but we'll limit the Olive Boulevard solely to exit only in there. That is contrary to the traffic assessment that was conducted by Lockmeter Group. But again, what we heard and when listening to the residents was that there was a concern about too much traffic on Dolores and those backups, and then adding additional users or retailer was going to make the situation worse. So in an effort to try to mitigate that, it's my recommendation to the commission, and the commission agreed, was to leave the Olive access point open, but to exit only. It is an unsafe access point, and it is noted in the traffic assessment for entering the site, because if the person behind you is thinking you're turning on Dolores and you continue to turn in there or continue, you could get hit from the back or so. Or if you're going westbound, you could get confused of where exactly are they turning. So we would like to see that limited to an exit only. And again, that's in an effort to try to balance the concerns that we heard listening to the public from the public and also for the needs of the applicant.
And is that why you would move to a clockwise rotation on the parking lot?
The recommendation in the traffic assessment was to conduct a clockwise rotation, a counterclockwise rotation, because that's how they had the, I think it was regarding the angle of the parking and their review of how they were using the exit sites. I do know that the petitioner wants to look at a clockwise rotation, because that would maintain the existing angle of those sites. The concern will be, again, ensuring that the Olive exit is well and visual to restrict access in.
Okay. In regards to the drive-through, which was brought up multiple times, it's my understanding, and I want to make sure that it's clear with the community members that are here, that is not part of the 450. That is part of a separate code.
That is correct. Under the city's special permit regulations, any site that has a drive-through, there are location restrictions. And then there is a requirement of a lot area, and that's 80,000 square feet.
And
This lot is a little bit over 17,000 square feet. So it's well short of the threshold for qualifying or petitioning for a drive-through use under the current regulations. Yes.
So there could never be a drive-through at this.
Not under the
location.
current regulations.
Okay. And could those be repealed?
Those would be subject, again, the council could consider a petition to amend the ordinance at any time in the future, and whether it's this council or any future council. And understand too, we've dropped those requirements from, I believe, it was, you had to have 3 or 5 acres. We brought it down to 80,000 square feet as part of the comprehensive plan updates and revisions. I think it was in 2012 or so. I may be off on the year or two, but you know, these codes are constantly reviewed and evaluated to ensure that they're, you know, that those conditions or provisions are met in there. So under the current, again, they could petition the council. It impacts, you know, properties throughout the corridor and there, but it would be a council decision of whether they would make an amendment or not. The plan commission is part of the process in that review. They forward a recommendation to the council.
So it would never be solely to the council to change that,
Correct. You know,
or to the PCDC.
yeah, well, somebody would have to initiate that petition.
There's a check and balance.
Mhm.
Okay, and then another comment was made tonight about the 40% of the exterior being with masonry. And I believe, and someone commented earlier, I forgot who it was, but it was about the idea that it was not in the petition, in the special use permit. And I thought it was.
It is a condition in the ordinance before you tonight in there.
So that building will have, the look will change, the parking lot would change, the traffic flow would change.
Mhm.
Okay, and then the last question is about the screening. You talked about with the screening with the partition. And you said that it would not be 3 feet high, but you never said how high it would be, what the height would be.
There's 2 different sections. There's the transitional buffer, which is where non-residential property about single family residential property, which this site does on the south side. There's currently a wooden privacy fence that runs along the south property line. That fence will have to be replaced, and a new fence consistent with chapter 428 will be required. And that is a masonry looking prototype of fence in there with a minimum height of 6 feet. Okay. Along the side of the street, whether it's on Olive or in this case, it would be on Dolores. The city under chapter 428, we require a land, what we term as a landscape buffer wall. And that is a maximum height of 3 feet. It's kind of a knee wall that somewhat defines the property along the street. And we see those in developments like at the CVS, at the mobile station. And they're doing some in the Price Crossing or the Olive Crossing development.
Thank you. I'd like to bring it back to the council members to see if there's any further questions. Council Chairman Pro Tem.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I will take that off of some of your questions and some of the comments I heard as well. So at this point in time, our zoning doesn't allow for a drive-through with such a small, tight space. I heard people talk about the 5 items that the residential area would like to see addressed. I will say this, I think someone said this process has taken a long time. Well, this process has taken a long time because we're sharing information and we're going back and forth. And we are attempting to deal with, you know, fair and mindful legislation and consideration of a business that is legally allowed to be running in the state of Missouri at this time. Final renderings occur when it goes back to the Planning and Community Design Commission. So I don't anticipate renderings until it is at that phase in the process. If this passes tonight and if the developer wants to move forward. I am pleased with the outcome and the decisions that the Planning Community Design Commission made in consideration of the special use permit. They did address the traffic issues. You just summarized it again at this point. Some things from the traffic study, we're not going to take into consideration because we want that kind of clockwise flow. We want that safe in and out. My question with regards to the fact that you're not going to be able to get out on Dolores, clarification, signage, what sign will be there on the parking lot side? Or what are we in condition on the parking lot side that would say you cannot exit here? This is no exit. There will be some sign of that nature at that spot to make it clear, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I think there are standard traffic size signs that are permitted by code in there. The commission did not get into discussion if there was anything above and beyond will be traditional informational signs that you would see.
Okay, and again, that will come back up to them when this comes back on the renderings to make sure that everything is based upon their conditional and what they see in the renderings that meets all of that they put out in their conditional expectations.
Yeah, if the commission wants to see beyond just general traffic signs, they'd have to indicate that.
All right. Assure that they can be good neighbors. I heard somebody say that, assure that they can be good neighbors. I think any business in this community should be a good neighbor. And I think we all have clearly recognized that Olive Boulevard is our main corridor. And every community and every residential area has the capacity to butt up to Olive Boulevard. Light pollution concerns, I hear you. But that's going to be what is the oversight of planning community design and Mr. Trejo to make sure that we don't have that light spillage. With regard to safety, I'm going to say this again. I watched this myself on the Channel 4 News when somebody tried to break into a facility down in University City. And that video clearly showed that you can't break in. And with the ways that things are being built under the expectations and criteria of the constitutional amendment, and with the added additions of what our police chief was able to put in our safety considerations, I feel safety has been met, and they will be dealing with Ballards as well. So I feel that level of safety has been addressed. I really appreciate hearing the things that we heard in this long process. I think there are things that we did implement and ask and put into the consideration for this. But I want to make it very clear. I have no problem supporting the special use permit tonight. We have adopted 450. The special use permit has nothing whatsoever to do with 450 right now. It solely has to do with the special use permit of allowing a business, a marijuana business, to be in our community. I will make one thing clear. You all know in my lifetime here, I don't hide my feelings. I let everybody know how it is. I'm willing to support a special use permit with the developer totally understanding this is a tight spot and there's just no way that there would be a drive-through. And the biggest thing that I've heard over and over and over again is safety and drive-through. There's been others, yes, but the main ones I'm hearing is safety and no drive-through. And I think we've addressed the safety. And I can tell you that as long as I'm on this council, I would not support a drive-through on such a small location. So, you know, if we continue to move forward and the special use permit gets passed tonight, then, you know, we're going to be working with the developer to implement what would be and could be a successful business in this community. But I want everyone to understand a drive-through is not something that I think is viable at this spot. Okay, but I'm willing to support and say yes to the special use permit tonight, as long as everybody understands where I stand. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
I have a comment to make. This has been something that we all have been working on. It's nothing that we have taken lightly. But I want you to know that I listened to what you said. You're very passionate about what you said. The gentleman back there who just moved into his house and would have reconsidered buying that house had he known what was going on. I heard you. I live on a street that's a dead end street off of Olive Street also. And I see countless people trying to go into some of the businesses along Olive Street and come down my street by mistake. It happens often. We have private street at the end of our street. They still come down. They have to come down and sometimes it goes as far as my driveway, turn around and go back out the other direction. I take a lot of my cues from my big sister down there. But I'm gonna tell you now, she and I are not on the same page. I'm not going to support this because I don't think that it's fair to you. And it will affect your housing prices, in my opinion. And so I'm not going to support this. And I understand that business is a big part of the city of Olivet. And yes, we need business in order to thrive. But you guys put me here to represent you and to make sure that I do what's best for you. Sometimes it works and it helps you, and sometimes it might go against you. But right now, I don't think this is best for the city of Olivet. That's my opinion. And I'm going to stick to that. So I just wanted you to know where I stand in this. And thank you very much for coming to this. I appreciate your passion for being here because this is your home. And if it was on my street or close to my street, I'd be here too. Thank you.
Councilmember Knox.
Yes, I've been here almost as long as Mr. Travis. I've been here about 45 years. But the one thing that's different, he was a resident here. I worked traffic accidents throughout the city. I wrote summonses, not too many, but I wrote summonses on Olive Street Road in that area. That's where they speed. They speed down Olive Street Road in the 9300 block. I worked accidents of people coming out of Dolores. I've worked accidents of people coming out of Dealman Industrial. It's all right in that area. With our development, they're widening the street of Olive Street Road down in that area. So they're a possibility they're going to start going faster. So we're going to need more enforcement. But the main thing is, I live in Olivet. The main reason I live in Olivet is the quality of life in Olivet. The quality of life, not only in my neighborhood, which is farther away than where the dispensary would be, but the quality of life in all of our neighbors. I have seen where traffic has come into certain areas and there's overwhelmed in different areas up at the 9666 building, and people started parking in the neighborhoods. I'm not sure if this would happen here, but if there's a lot of people, they're going to find places to park. They might park on the other side of Olive. They might park in 9200 Olive. They might park in Dolores. I can't support this project because it affects the quality of life of the residents of Dolores, Tess, and the other one, Kenneth. I forgot about all the streets when I had to stop patrolling them. But I thank you all for coming out and expressing your opinions. I can't support this project. I can't support a drive-through. So I'm going to be voting no.
Okay, so I guess I'm the last one to say something. All I'm going to say, because I think everyone else has very eloquently expressed all the reasons but I find that the potential traffic for this active of a use is too great for this site. That's basically my bottom line. So. I'd be glad to read the motion unless you want.
I will be glad to, I will be more than glad to, if there's no further conversation, I'd be glad to call for the vote.
I'll entertain a motion.
And Mayor, I call for the vote.
Well, you need to make.
We need a motion.
Oh,
Give me just one
Madam
second.
Mayor,
I got
alright.
excited.
yeah, I don't have it up on.
Yeah, I got
yeah,
excited.
okay.
Madam Mayor, make a motion that we approve ordinance on Bill 3002, an ordinance authorizing a special permit to Agrigenesis LLC to operate a marijuana dispensary facility to be known as Sunrise Dispensary on the property grounds addressed as 9270 Olive Boulevard, zoned COR, Commercial Office Retail District, second reading. Oh, that wasn't.
I'll second that.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
No.
Councilmember Knox,
No.
Councilmember Carl,
No.
Chairman Waldman,
Yes,
Mayor.
you're gonna,
My vote doesn't count.
well, that's my point too. The majority is already expressed.
I actually think it's important to have a dispensary in our community. I just think it's the wrong location with everything we've heard and the people on Dolores and all the points that have been made. So hopefully we'll find a new location and I'll vote no. I'm voting no as well. And I'm there.
You're hanging me, that's okay. I do appreciate this process. I do spend many years sitting in as liaison, the Planning Community Design Commission. I tend to lean more on legalities. Our council's made this decision. I respect that decision. I respect my peers. And the city will move forward with what is considered the redevelopment comprehensive plan with the city. So no offense, it is what it is.
And like I said, I really do hope that we can find a different location and a better location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Part of where it has to be. This is what it is. This is governance. This is governance. This is what it is. You want me to do that?
Well, that cleared the room. Okay. Okay, no, only one. We're missing one and a lawyer. Okay, next item, please.
Item number 8 is bill number 3003, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Missouri American Water Company, MAW, to install one fire hydrant proximal to the Oliver at 9473 Olive Boulevard, approximately 188 feet north of Olive Boulevard on the west side of Freezy Drive, and approximately 44 feet to the northeast corner of the building located in the island on the west side of Freezy Drive in the city of Olivet, Missouri. Second reading.
Good evening, Mayor. We had our first reading a couple weeks ago, and then tonight we're joined by our Assistant Fire Chief Tim Fain, and he'll be here to answer some questions we had from the last meeting and give us a little background on this ordinance.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight, council members, mayor, Mr. Mann. The ordinance in front of you is to place a hydrant on Freezy adjacent to the FDC, the fire department connection of the Oliver building. The Oliver is fully sprinkled and the standpipe system in there is our access through the FDC to be able to use connections in the stairwells at different locations in the building. The fire code, when adopted in 2015, International Fire Code requires that if you have a standpipe in the building with the sprinkler system, also a hydrant needs to be within 100 feet of the FDC. Currently, the old fire hydrant, which was out in front of the old firehouse, is 240 plus feet and too far away. Again, within 100 feet is what the code says. This was noted during construction, during planning. However, when the construction company, during the time frame when it was brought to them multiple times, did nothing about it with questions of why, and I brought to the point that it was part of the code, IFC. Each side of the building, the east side on Freezy and the west side of the building and the stairwells are the standpipe systems in the building, where we would have to attach our hose to, and we would actually have to pump it from the Freezy side. And again, the water at 240 plus feet away is too far for initial response of a crew. So that's why I propose to you for this ordinance that American Water to be able to place a hydrant on Freezy, again, approximately 44 feet away from that northeast corner of the Oliver building and 240 plus feet away from Olive. All right. Any questions?
I do, and forgive me if you already answered this. Who's paying for it?
American Water.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I motion to pass Bill 3003 and authorization and direction to Missouri American Water to install a hydrant at 9473 Olive Boulevard.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Waldman.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by action of the Olivet City Council. Bill number 3003 becomes ordinance number 2773.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Next item, please.
The next item is Bill 3004, an ordinance making appropriations for current expenses of the city government of the city of Olivet for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023, adopting a certain budget and adopting a certain salary schedule. First reading.
Good evening, Mayor. We have just the first reading here for our budget for FY '24. We've been discussing this at length for several months now. And this is just the first reading for this. Totals nearly a $20 million budget, which is a little bit of an increase from last year. And with that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions about what we see tonight. We'll come back in 2 weeks with a full presentation with more of the graphs, and would be if you have any information requests or questions tonight, I'd be more than happy to answer them then.
This is number, yeah. Are there any questions? We've spent a lot of time preparing for this, and at the next meeting, there will be a much longer presentation with the second reading. So buckle up. Right, Darren?
It'll be moderately.
Moderate. Okay. Thank you. Call for the, first reading. Next item.
Next item is Bill number 3005, an ordinance of the city of Olivet, Missouri, reaffirming the gross receipts tax to be imposed upon water companies conducting business within the city and matters related thereto. First reading.
Good evening once again, Mayor and Council. We do have another first reading in front of us regarding the gross receipts tax to be to maintain them at the 10% current rate that we have today, in despite the statutory limitations that kind of kick in about what would happen outside of this. Before we get any further, I had heard rumors of this, but it is true that the author of this, the person that found this out, is in the room. And it's
I
our
believe
new.
he's going to be our new city.
That's exactly
manager.
right. So that's exactly the kind of person that we would like to have helping us out around here.
I don't want any rumors.
So
But
this
that's-
is just the first reading, but I'm really
Right.
glad that you're here.
But when it's a good thing, is that a rumor or?
I wasn't for sure if
Okay.
Paul was gonna give up credit,
Oh.
but he of course did.
Look at him smiling.
So if anybody went to Rock Hill and read how things go, though, Paul Martin reads the title of every bill. So you're busy over there in Rock Hill.
Okay, next
No,
item,
no, I got a question. I got a question.
I'm sorry.
I got a question. I'm
jump in.
gonna put a question to our news coming to be city manager. So I have this municipal league meeting, the executive board meeting at the end of the month. And from what I've learned that we must implement this ordinance to say, we want to keep it the way it is. And that has to be implemented by July 10th. Yes, are other cities aware of this already, that they need to be getting on top of this as well? Or is this my task to send an email somewhere and get other cities on board and aware?
So I can't speak to other cities. My colleagues have not put it out on their city managers list. The information that I received came from the St. Louis Municipal League. So if I received it, they've also received it. But it wouldn't hurt for you to make comment at your municipal league meeting.
Okay, all right, thanks, thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is resolution number 2023-239. A resolution authorizing the interim city manager to enter into an agreement with Navigate Building Solutions for additional project management services at an amount not to exceed $65,100.
Good evening, once again, Mayor and Council. In front of us today is some of more of our kind of closeout of the community center project and the Worson Park project. If we remember back to July of 2020, we happily extended a contract to Navigate Building Solutions as our owner's representative with a lump sum of $586,000, and that was a 27-month period. Around the September timeframe, we had realized we were not going to be complete by December as we thought. And another 5-month extension was granted, and that put us further along and into at a cost of $125,000. What these come out to is roughly $21,000 a month. That price hasn't changed from back in 2020, and this is anticipated to get us to the end of August, which is the end of the construction project. And this is just a resolution we need to clean up some of that paperwork. More than happy to answer any questions on where we are. It's the same form and the same kind of format that we saw back in November of 2022 when the first the extension was granted.
Excuse me. We don't usually have phones going off up here.
I'm sorry.
I thought we did. And I didn't mean to laugh. Okay,
I'd like to make a motion to
Thank you.
approve resolution 2023-2239, a resolution authorizing interim city manager to enter into an agreement with Navigate Building Solutions for an additional project management services at an amount not to exceed $65,100.
Second.
call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Carl.
Yes.
Chairman Waldman.
Yes,
Mayor,
Yes,
motion passed.
next item, please.
Next item is resolution number 2023-240. A resolution authorizing and directing the execution of a contract with Puro Signs, Inc. for the construction.
Hold on a second. Oh, turn yours back on. Yeah, yep, she used the captain's
You
button.
need me to read it again? Okay. Resolution number 2023-240, a resolution authorizing and directing the execution of a contract with Puro Signs, Inc. for the construction and installation of signage and wayfinding at city parks not to exceed $113,751.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Beverly Tucker Knight, Parks and Recreation Director. So this evening we have before you the first phase implementing our wayfinding master plan. So I have a little bit of a intro because it's been a long time since we approved this wayfinding. So those of you who remember, this was one of the initial projects we did after the completion of adopting our Parks Master Plan. And at that time, one of the primary recommendations that we learned through the Park Master Plan is that nobody knew we had 5 parks, nor did they know where they were, and nor did they know that Stacy Park was run by the city of Olivet and owned by the city of St. Louis. So we learned a lot in that process, and getting people to our parks and for them to understand where they all are was a key driver of that. So we embarked on the wayfinding plan. We have a master plan, and if you could go to the next slide, please, Darren. So we have a master plan that is an ambitious plan that covers the entire city. For this evening's proposal, we're doing the first phase implementation of this. So in April 2019, we issued an RFQ and it was awarded to Kiku Obata and Associates, and they brought back a beautiful master plan that was accepted in November 2019. Then fast forward to Prop C. Looks like we have a little wrap around there. I apologize. During Prop C implementation, we refined the phasings to make it affordable within the Prop C plan. And during the course of developing the individual master plans for each park, we reduced the number of signs for that very first rollout. So next slide, please. So what we have this evening will bring primary signs to all of the parks, a secondary sign to a park, and then some directional signs in our largest parks. So we put out, we issued an RFP because again, this is separate from the parks budget that we put, sorry, not budget, but this is separate from the parks project that we awarded to Hankins. It was deliberately left out of that, and it was deliberately left out of the bid that was awarded for the construction of Warson Park and the community center. So we released a park signage RFP only for this first phase of signs. We received a robust bid response, which was great. And Puro Signs emerged as the lowest and the best qualified. So if we go to the next slide, the specifics for this phase, we will be providing a primary park ID sign at every park. So at Indian Meadows, Irvside, Stacy, Villa, and Warson Parks. And that's the one on the very far left. Then we'll have a secondary sign go up at Indian Meadows because, as you know, it has multiple entrances and it can be very confusing for residents to find it. We're not putting as many in as the original plan because we also have additional signage coming in from Great Rivers Greenway, which helps us stretch our dollars. There's already an identifier for Warson Park installed already at the beginning of the Greenway on Warson Road, so you can actually see it. And it clearly identifies the park, which is pretty exciting. Then at Stacy and Warson Parks, we'll be putting in directional signs. So that's this middle one here. And then we have a monument sign, and the monument sign was not part of the original master plan because we didn't know we were building a community center at that time. So this monument sign is designed to mimic the monument sign that will eventually go on Olive, that illuminated sign that we'll be putting there. So it has that same sizing, same materials, and then instead of the electronic signboard, it'll be illuminated, but the backing will be the wood that is on those really large signs that you probably remember from the original master plan. So that is what that's the scope of this project. Next slide, please. So
Can-
tonight,
Can you go back to that slide?
yes,
Does the Five Oaks logo, is that going to be in metal?
it is. It'll be metal. So our plan right now, it'll be metal and it'll be raised up on pins from the wood and it'll be illuminated from the back.
Beautiful.
And this is just a mock-up. Now, I designed this. So once the sign maker actually gets gets it into their design, it may not be feasible, but it'll be similar. So they've already recommended that the street address in there be a lot larger. So
Thank you.
so yeah, then that will sit on Warson Road at the entrance to the driveway for Five Oaks on Warson. Okay, so our recommended action this evening will cover the fabrication and the installation for all of these parks. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Madam Mayor, make a motion to approve resolution 2023-240, a resolution authorizing and directing the execution of a contract with Puro Signs Incorporated for the construction installation of signage and wayfinding in city parks not to exceed $113,751.
Second, I got a question for you though. For the gallery,
Yes.
where can you
Let
go
us
on?
vote and then you ask.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold tight.
Yes, I'm gonna hold tight there. Go ahead, Mayor Max.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Waldman.
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay, back to what I was saying.
Now, Councilmember Clark.
We're on the website because I really am interested in entering something in for our gallery.
Yes, absolutely. And you will be one of the first people notified. What we're doing right now is we're building the program. So we have the spaces identified for the gallery, but we have to build the vetting process because we know there'll be a lot of interest.
Mhm.
So we have to have a way to, an intake. So there'll be criteria such as, we'll weight it heavily towards people that are Olivet residents or their art is of something that fits our mission. So we have to have some sort of criteria and then we have to have some sort of vetting system. So as soon as that is developed, we will post it out on the website. We hope to have that up in the next 60 days.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As a liaison to the Parks Commission, there were many meetings in the old community center building on Grandview. And I know that the Parks Commission is going to be thrilled to know that this is happening. So
Yes.
we've had these pre-pandemic, so.
Yes, and initially, for those of you who remember, doing some sort of celebratory project when we completed the Parks Master Plan was our plan. And doing wayfinding and particularly doing the monument sign on Olive was going to be that celebratory project. And then our fabulous council said, well, why just do one project? Let's do all the parks. So that's why we, it's taken a little bit longer, but this will be just the icing on the top of all of these beautiful parks. So thank you very much. I greatly
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Next item, please.
Next item is approval of a change order totaling $68,880 to the contract with Wright Construction for community center project construction.
Good evening once again, council and mayor and council. We have some more of the housekeeping for in close down of the project at Five Oaks on Warson. This is for to reconstruct and repave the drive lane at Five Oaks. Roughly it is, I'll show you the picture. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So the monument sign is going right here. And the entire drive lane, the contractor themselves did not have much of this in there, and this was intentional. We knew that the parking lots, again, we talked goes back about a month for our budget discussion. We knew that the parking lots and the driveway at this location is in poor shape and it needed to be addressed at some point. Here we are with this. We had solicited some quotes from a separate project to be handled internally. However, this and they matched really closely to this, by the way, but the sequencing of this to open the building came to light that we needed to award this to Wright Construction through a change order process in order to not disrupt their activities inside of finishing up and moving, including some of our things like fitness equipment and furniture. They needed to be involved with the sequencing of this and needed to be under their control and their contract. And so that's where this recommendation came, to add this back into the Wright Construction contract itself. There, if you do read through some of this, there is some notes of some credits that are given here. And this red right here is sewer work that had to be done. This is the detention basin right here. So all this, everything has to go to the detention basin first, as after it drains out off the building. That work required that the road be repaved, and that's where the credit comes from. So this, some of this was in there as just as part of the byproduct of having to do the street work, because they had to recondition it to where they found it. So that's why you see some credits in there, and that's why this red line is on this drawing right here. That hatched lines right here, this was not part of the original contract itself, except what needed to be done for the sewer work that they tore up. And that's where the $18,000 comes from. And then this area right in here, which is a new parking lot area, that was included in the contract. And this that's another reason that the recommendation is coming that Wright Construction, this be added to their contract, because it's the same asphalt company that would do both of them. There was some cost for just laying pavement down, but it's been determined that the subgrade and the underneath is just it's deteriorated so badly that it wouldn't be doing us any good to just lay asphalt on top. It would just deteriorate quicker, and then we would be faced with the same decision much sooner than we would want. So that's the background of this. It is another addition to their contract in the $68,000. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions about where this puts us, any even schedule updates if we want to go through those too, about where this project stands.
Darren, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, and you may not really know the answer, but you are a whiz, and so I appreciate that. How deep is the rock going to go before they pour the asphalt?
This will be a full 12-inch reclamation, they call it, and then
Okay.
a 4-inch of asphalt on top.
Okay, thank you.
And this is the order 104 that you. This is the order 104 that when you did your city manager report earlier tonight that you referred to in the dashboard,
Yeah,
correct?
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions?
Motion to approve Wright Construction proposed change order 104 totaling $68,880 for the community center project. Second.
Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl.
Yes.
Chairman Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay, next item.
Hearing from citizens, part 2.
If anyone in the room would like to make a comment.
Lost everyone.
Anyone on Zoom land? Okay, then we'll go on to our next item.
Next item is review and approval of minutes.
I saw nothing. Did you?
No corrections?
I saw no corrections.
Entertain a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve city council minutes from 2023, May 23rd and 2020, and the work session minutes from 2023, June 6th as written. Second.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
City manager, oh, I'm sorry, next item.
City attorney's report.
Yes.
Mayor, I just have a reminder, I'm not going to be here at the next meeting. The city councils has already given me the approval to have a prosecutor sit in for me, Ross Davis. And I'd just like to commend everybody, Carlos on his presentation and the council and the way they handled the Sunrise Dispensary meeting tonight. I thought it was exemplary.
To come to the. Yes. So I'd like to call on Julie Stone before we close, from Stone Consulting.
I just want to thank Paul. So as Jennifer said in her comments, Paul pretty much took a giant step back because of a conflict of interest between Rock Hill and all that. But so I worked through a lot of the agreement with the council, but Paul still was final I's, final crossing of T's, dotting of I's, suggestions about how to overcome some things that we needed to figure out. And at that point in the process, it was the perfect thing at the perfect time. So the fact that he was able to do that for us quickly and to get it done, I appreciate his help. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you. And before we adjourn, I would like everyone to remain for a few minutes because I'd like to get a picture with our new city manager, with the city council before we all head out. And we'll tell you where we're heading out to. So, okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Message like that. No.
I'm waiting for
I has a motion to adjourn.
second.
We're falling down, Cindy.
We are adjourned.